Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, where we provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and we are thrilled to have you here for this episode of Coexistence and Sustainability with Pet Psychic AMINAH. We're going to be talking about the American eagle, such a beautiful creature, and the struggle for to live, to be able to have the wings flying at full mast without fear of being taken down. So this is a very important topic here in the States. Let's welcome the star of our show. It's Pet Psychic AMINAH.
Thank you.
Hi there.
Thank you. It's a beautiful day here. How about yourself?
It's a beautiful day here as well. I got a little tongue-tied thinking about the American eagle. And I'm originally from Philadelphia and, of course, home of the Philadelphia Eagles. And I've been there game day when they release the eagle and it flies across the stadium and comes back. It's quite a sight.
It really, really is. And they're not the biggest bird out there. You need to go to the carnivores and the carnivore ones, which are the I just lost my mind with the vultures. Thank you. I've seen it in my face and was like, wait a minute, just lost that word. So vultures are really out winging everybody, but they are all birds of prey. Birds of prey is the not an acronym. It's truly a definition of these animals eat meat. Lots of it. You're not going to find any honeybee killers here. You're not going to find anybody snacking on, something they shouldn't is when they're around humanity. And we all know that. We go to a park or to a wonderful place to walk and get some exercise, and we see all kinds of wildlife. I hope still you all are getting that wonderful experience. When you see a bird of prey, they are usually hunting, sitting on a nest, and or looking for a mate. It is a very, very structured and pretty predictable life, except for they live in the wild. So what happens in the wild? You live by your ingenuity to feed yourself and your young and your mate, or you don't. There's not a middle ground on living outside at all. And these, if you'll notice, when you look at different birds, we really know a lot about them just by seeing their beak, much less their talons. If they've got some really impressive ones, which this wonderful bird does, this is a meat eater. This is not, he's not checking out the fruit, and they will eat it, but it's not going to sustain them.
It's interesting. I like to walk in this certain area, and I walk by this restaurant, and they have the dumpster was filled with trash, and you could see these vultures. They were huge, and there were like 20 or 30 of them. It was actually kind of frightening. It reminded me of that movie, The Bird.
Exactly.
They were on a mission to find some food. And I know also, I'm here in Florida, when I've driven up towards Orlando, there's a landfill, very large landfill on the left as you go up. And the vultures, you could see them for miles circling around.
Yep, our trash is somebody's treasure. That's true for the garage sales lovers, for the wild dogs. Animals that shouldn't be out there, cats, dogs, they're eating anything they can get their hands on because it's about survival. You don't get to have more offspring if you can't produce enough food in the family to say, hey, I'm a good guy, I'm a good girl, I can make more babies. Animals are so different from humanity. And yeah, and a little sore spot for me as far as everybody is like, oh, well, they can have 5 kids and they can have 9 kids and they can have 12 kids. What people don't think about is who's going to put them through college, because you don't get like almost any job at all without higher education. And who's going to put their shoes on and or have shoes, and who's going to this and this. We are not living in a time when having a large family literally meant you could harvest a whole field just by your family working it. We're not in that time anymore. Animals follow this rule to the end degree. And what I mean by that is, if the resources in the year that these birds are going to have babies or whatever, they might have 1 egg or 2 eggs, but not 7. Their body and the way they're put together is to say our resources are few, so we're going to have less young for this period. And that's how the world heals, is not by constantly saying, no, you got to come up with another dam on that river because we want that water and we're all out of water, so we want that water, which is just cataclysmic all the way down. Talk about your bricks falling. That would be a bricks falling moment of saying, I'm just going to keep knocking the bricks down until things come out my way. 2 + 2 is still 4, but you can't change it, and you can't change some of this. I really want to encourage people is to not only love the wildlife and support them if you can in having a bowl of water out or something. Thawing the bird bath in the winter is a really big deal for people who have snow. But to an animal, that's life and death. Water is life and death for all of us. But what I don't recommend is feeding them. Now, there are a lot of great stores that cater to feeding birds. Talk to them. If you can get something that will not disturb the natural habitat, meaning taking seeds from plants and trees and then they poop them out or they spill them over and these trees get made and grow again. So that we need to keep our distance from wildlife. That's the takeaway I want everybody to go. Keep your distance.
Excellent points. I know we're going to be talking a little bit more about the birds, but I have to share, and I've been giving some updates on this, but this iguana situation, it's really gotten worse. And it's difficult because when you want to support coexistence and sustainability, but you have a creature that's considered to be, I can't think of the word, it's not nuisance.
Deadly?
No, it begins with a P. I forget what the word is.
Yeah.
That you're legally allowed to get rid of them in a humane way. But they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And they're causing all kinds of destruction. Plus they're leaving their waste, which apparently has salmonella in it. So it's kind of hard that, when you want to be supportive and at the same time you want to protect your home.
Well, exactly. And we're all on that fence. It couldn't be a better metaphor. We're all on that fence. The fence is maybe as thick as my hand. And the bird is up there one time and the person's looking over the other time. I believe, and I hope what I'm selling and preaching here is why. If I can get you to understand why an animal needs that or why we should care, a lot of people just don't know that we're all connected. Literally, we are all connected. I really, really want everybody to hear this. We are really, really connected. Just what you just said, Dr. JACALYN, is who gets to choose? That alligator gets to live here. That one doesn't. That iguana gets to live here. What I love, and that's probably not the best word, but I honestly really support Fish and Wildlife and other animal organizations that are coming out and trying to catch all these. They can't possibly put them all in a zoo. They can't possibly feed them until they're dead in 60 years. So Be aware before you adopt any animal, cat, dog, squirrel, hamster. Find out their lifespan. Find out what their needs are. And find out what you, the parent, and the children, if you get a pet for a child, that's fine, but you still are going to be buying the food and all that type of thing. So know what you're getting into, because just to let them loose, which Dr. Jacalyn, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, but from what I understand, especially in your area and or the Keys all over Florida, people literally just said, "Oh, they're native, they'll do fine," and they just let them go. Isn't this how your overpopulation started?
Absolutely. From everything I read, there are no
Right.
iguanas that are indigenous to this area. It's interesting when I go for my walks and I walk through other communities, I don't see any iguanas at all. They're all in this community for some reason.
It's usually habitat, food, and nobody tries to kill them. So
Yeah. I read that they don't like mirrors, they don't like their reflection, and they don't like if people hang up CDs in different places. So I did that, and I happened to be sitting in the front yesterday, and I saw one of them go up the palm tree and then come across the trellis. So I went out with my CD, and the sun hit it perfectly, and it hit the thing right in the eye, and I was like, "Take that, take that!" And guess what? It did no good whatsoever. Zero.
Oh, well, and so you have to maybe step up your game. I would think this the reflection, but if they're seeing the reflection everywhere and nothing ever happens, they're smart enough to go, "Oh, that's just a suggestion."
That's a good
So
point.
why we get things like bells, little bells, and you can add that to your CD, because the CD is still going to have that reflective thing going on with the wind. And now they understand leaves, but this thing is not a leaf. It doesn't smell like a leaf. It doesn't act like a leaf. But you can add something that dings, has a little bell, or has a little. You know how sometimes you can get these little beaded chains that people hang on their nightstand, or I don't know, they braid it into their hair. I've seen them like so many places, and they're beads of different size and or different textures, but it creates, just imagine if you put that in a tree, you want to create that. You don't know what I am or what I'm going to do to you. They also have, I know for dogs, specifically people who have dogs that come onto their yard and poop, and the owners let their dogs run around. And they have these sprinklers that as soon as somebody walks across the light, the paint, it turns on. So it soaks everybody, but you never know how it's working because it's on a sensor. So they are starting to be very creative in the real estate, resale department of saying, okay, that didn't work. We got to keep on our toes. With animals that are living in the wild, they are going to know better. Okay, nothing happened. No growl. Nobody pulled my hair. None of that. So what we've done a couple of things. We've all introduced to foil, right? Everybody knows what foil is. You can actually crinkle it, and you know what happens. It creates spikes and bumps and things, and you probably can never flatten it ever again. But I have seen those put up in the trees, so that, just think about it. It catches a reflection from the sun, wherever it is. It's incredibly lightweighted, and it has sharp little things if the animal comes over and tries to cut it down. I don't know if it works for iguanas, but at some point you go, I'm going to try it all. Wax paper. They can get their nails through it and get enough traction, but go with the theory of what wax paper does. It just slides the cookies off the cookie dish, right? That's the whole point. Slide. So you can put in these types of things that make it inhospitable. You're not opening the door and saying, welcome, free food, free potty place, wherever you'd like to go. And have those barriers up. There are plants out there that will deter certain animals. And that's what you need to talk to your nursery about. Where do you live, and what will thrive and what won't? There's your start.
I read that they don't like lemongrass.
Ooh, I had heard that. I hadn't talked about that in a long time. Yeah, it's supposed to, I mean, it is what it is. It's bitter. But you have to, again, have 5 plans, because you'd put the grass out. They don't like it. They go and come back, for your troop probably the next day, and they could try it again. I've seen everybody's gotten really creative about birds on houses, because the poop is just awful. Just that slimy, white, gooey stuff that birds do. And so we've got the plastic spikes, and I see them everywhere, across gutters, across the top of the house, just to cut the traffic down and create a unstable area. Remember, if you're going to live in the wild, and this would be true for humans, if you're going to live in the wild, the one thing you do your best at, stay healthy. So if an animal feels endangered, I'm not saying put them in danger, but if you put even a electrical wire out. Do you remember when we were kids? You probably had this too. We had barbed wire like on everything. It's like, nope, you can't be in my yard, barbed wire. And they found a better way to do that. But the theory is you bump into that little pokey thing and it's all over, and you go, yeah, I'm not going anywhere near that. So don't recommend you do barbed wire or electrocute any animals. I'm trying to give you a think outside the box. I get more inspired when I'm looking to fix a brand new issue. My animal with somebody else's animal. I literally go to hardware stores and dollar stores and just look at what they're doing and what I could do with it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, it does. And the idea of the spikes is a good one as well. I'm trying to find someone who can put them up there.
Right. And they have to be secured pretty well, because these are big guys and girls that they're trampling all over. And I can't imagine what your area, even talking to you or all your neighbors, in roofing costs. I mean, that's the place to be. Go there for roofing. Everybody's like, why? They have great weather. It's not the weather. It's the neighbors. They're living on the roof. And I know you can hear them. I've heard them go because their nails are just fabulous.
You can.
And they're
well, what's interesting is, because of the way this house is built, this particular unit, there are palm trees out front. So they climb up the palm trees, then they leap over to the trellis, then they go on the roof. And then here there's a big hedge. All they have to do is either go up the hedge or jump. So I think it was 2 days ago, I was doing a show and I heard this loud, and it jumped off the roof, like from the top of and then just kept running. But I read they can fall 100 feet without having anything happen to them.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And people need to remember, evolution happens every day. Evolution happens, meaning that we didn't always have dogs the size they are. And I'm not talking about us breeding special kinds. Just what you talked about is you have a wild animal and it has a situation that's changed, how they eat, how they get to food, how they jump onto roofs, because roofs weren't invented 20,000 years ago. That animal will change their habits and grow to their environment to survive. So all of us get tired and say, I thought that would work. Well, you know what? If it worked for 3 weeks, yay. But most of the time, you have to change your game. You have to keep 1 or 10 steps ahead. And you can make it, the football game you didn't ever get to play. Who's got the football? And you can make fun with it or whatever, but find out what that animal finds unstable. For example, if I wanted to stop a horse from coming over and eating my grass, I would put up fences, because unless it's a specific kind of horse or this horse knows wooding and fences, you're going to put up a big fence. But I also could put loose scrabble. And I don't mean the small stuff, because a horse wants to know that where he's walking is stable. Many, many horses, I had to work with mine on this, is to walk across a creek. And I mean a creek, a couple inches deep of water. And it was only full after rains. But for us to work on our trust issues, as far as he needed to trust me and I needed to trust him, I needed to get him past fear of water. And what horses don't like about water is they can't see the bottom. Even in the creek, you could see the bottom. So that's why I started there. And it was the closest part of where he was boarded. So think about it from maybe an animal perspective and say, okay, I got a lot of honeybees. I don't really want to be stung. They don't need to die. Move the flowers that they're attracted to. Don't put them at your front door and then get angry and start killing honeybees all over the place because somebody put a plant in an inappropriate place. The bees didn't do it. So we need to step in and just make it an easier place to be together. That's my ask.
That's a good one. Absolutely. So when we think about the winged friends, the birds, and we think about the eagle, and really anything that's put on an endangered species list, and we come into contact with it, what do we do?
First of all, walk away. Walk away, because most people, even myself, there's just far too much learning on a constant basis that I can possibly get to everything. But give yourself some grace and say, you know what? I don't know what you are. I don't know why you're growling at me. I can just feel the fact that I don't need to be here. There's different ways to back away from different animals. If you want to turn your back on a lion and run, I don't recommend it. Well, a lot of people die that way because a cat is about the surprise, about the jumping on you. A bird, he's going to swoop you, maybe touch you with his talons if he has them. Remove yourself as fast as you can, calmly. If that's possible, don't run. Just say, hey, I'm out of here. Think about a bee swarm. And I've talked about this so many times. I really, really want everybody to hear it again if you haven't heard it yet. The safest time to be around honeybees is when they're swarming. Do you remember why, Dr. Jacalyn?
Yeah, because they're looking to get the queen to where she has to go.
Exactly. She's in dead center. All the ones that are going to break off with her, because she's already left a brand new queen coming back at the hive. So some will stay, take the new queen, and this one will start again. And in the process, eventually she will pass after she's already laid another queen to help this one. But they can't keep growing, especially if the food is available. So the best thing you can do for a swarm, put out a dish of water, a dish, not a cup. They don't need to drown, but any kind of, you know how pans have lids, the metal ones. Don't go deeper than a lid like that. Now you couldn't possibly put it on the floor, but you could do a nice shallow dish so that they can land on it, take a drink, off they go. They're resting. But truly, your safest time to be around a honeybee is when they're swarming. They don't care about you at all. They want to get from A to B and get their queen there. That's the entire mindset. So please give some grace there to yourself and them. But even better, if we can leave out clean water, how wonderful. A safe place for them to rest, and whoever that is. If that's the local bird or iguana, or you're going to need different sizes for those big animals. Can you, I'm hearing a question, can you eliminate all of this not living on this planet? I know there's somebody out there asking about, well, I don't want bees and I'm allergic to this and I don't like that. And I said, that's heartbreaking. Because I'd love for everybody to go outside, take a deep breath, appreciate the good weather, appreciate the trees and everything, and give yourself quality of life. But we've got to do that together for all of us, for all the bugs and all the birds and all of coexisting with each other. I hope we all found a lot of compassion after going through a pandemic as a nation. I hope so.
As well, definitely. So when we think about coexistence, coexistence is really not just with animals, but all creatures, humans, with us respecting one another. And I think at the core of all of it is really listening skills. What do you think?
Oh, you hit it. You hit the nail on the head completely, because so many times, I know I've done it, and I hope I've slowed down a great deal. I used to talk really, really fast. I didn't know I did until a couple people, especially people in my life, were from a different country. English wasn't their first language, and they kept saying, "What did you just say?" We can slow down. We can take a moment to appreciate somebody else or something else or a sunny day. Sometimes it's just rained and rained and rained, emotionally, physically, whatever it is in your life. And we need to take that time and not only be kind to ourselves, but be kind to everybody else. You don't know what their day's going through, and that's not for any of us to have to worry about. Next time, the grumpy, whatever coworker that you have to deal with, and you say, "Hey, just thinking of you. Is it possible that maybe they just need somebody to talk to?" Or, "Hey, I'm going to go for a walk around the building. How about you?" All of this, we need to find the sustainable path of going forward, not just resources, but in who we are as people and how we see honeybees, how we see vultures, how we see alligators. It crosses over everything.
All right. I didn't know if there was something more after that.
I try not to dribble on. I'm trying. Yeah,
you're right. You're right on point today.
There's so many wonderful things to share with everybody that I'm just so blessed. I finished all my repotting on on my little stairway. And the best thing is I went out there to pull some weeds on a different branch, and I got company with one of the honeybees, and they're buzzing around looking for all the flowers. And I said, "That's cruel. You stay on the flower. I want to go put weed over here." Because I do get upset if I squish them or hurt them or anything. That was the hardest part about teaching children and having beehives. I did that for quite a while with a youth program, and I got a beekeeper out and learned so much. But it doesn't matter how many suits I had or anything, I eventually would get stung. I would move too fast or something, and I'd go, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm killing you." There are ways to do this, and I benefited. I've talked about this before. If you have allergies at all, find a beekeeper with local honey. The bees have to be taken from the plants where you live so that you get that help. I haven't taken an allergy tablet, I don't know, in a month or so. And it was just a really, dust blowing week at my place. Other than that, eating raw honey I think I did it religiously for 2 years. But my allergies are almost non-existent at this point.
That is good news. And they are mowing the lawn here. I don't know if you can hear them. Very loud.
Well, they're going to get those iguanas for you.
They're running. Yep, they are running. So you have mentioned that about the honey before, and I think that's really important because I've spoken to some other people who have done the same thing. They've purchased local honey, and the allergies have gone away.
Right, because if whoever's listening doesn't understand what we're talking about, it's the pollen. You don't want it highly spun. You don't want it taken apart. Now you can get the pollen separately, but you want local where you live and get as close as you possibly can. So don't go over 50 miles, I hope, because by then they're eating possibly from other plants that you're not around. And what I did is I just finally, because I love the honey, it's lovely, but I just making it in sandwiches, it was just it's too much. I would get a teaspoon, dip it in the honey, eat it, put the spoon in the sink, did that at night. So in the beginning, I was doing one of those spoons and then one at night, because again, I'm still having Kleenex everywhere because I have terrible allergies, but I have nothing like before. And in those days, I was teaching history to children and blowing my nose for the entire time of my class. It was not a good look. It's not a good look. Not one little kid was mean, but I was teaching 6th grade and down, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful to do, but it's not really conducive to have a runny nose every single time. So it was wonderful to be able to get a grasp on that. And it's not just me. I heard this not only from the beekeeper, I heard this from other people. And Dr. JACALYN, I think you've said we can expose ourselves to the things we're allergic to or have that reaction a little at a time. And sometimes your body will adapt. I'm not a doctor, so you have to check with yours. But honey is really, really great for allergies because the bees are taking it from the plants you're probably sneezing about. That's the connection. That's why I say raw honey. You've got to get it where it's not spun out and they've taken all the pollen out. If you are worried about a reaction to the honey or have had reactions to honey, then you're going to go with a pinky full. And then you're going to add another pinky when you can handle that. Go slow. Slow and steady is better than nothing. And then you don't know if it works. I know, having recommended this now for 20 years and having done it myself first, it's worth the effort. And goodness sakes, honey comes in so many flavors now. It just depends on which ones the bees are taking it from. And it's a good source of food. As long as you don't do too much. It has a lot of sugar.
There you have it. There are the words of wisdom to help everybody out there who has allergies. And I think also, as we think about the birds, of course, the eagles and the vultures, and you have mentioned this many times about not feeding them.
Right.
And something else I think is important, because this has happened to me. I'll just be out walking, and then all of a sudden hear, this bird starts flying after me and diving down. And so what happens if a bird, whether it's an eagle or vulture, I don't know if it makes a difference, if it's a cardinal.
Those talons sure would. I promise. Because you're either flying, because you're very tall and you're very, very, very heavy. So they're just picking you up and off you go. Just enjoy the ride, because your hair is going to get pulled out, because that's what they can grab onto.
Right. I'm in trouble.
No, the big birds of prey are not going to come and eat you. But you're right. We need to find something there for them. Yeah.
So what do you suggest?
So I want you to reframe your question. So if we see a bird, what should we do? Is that
no, if it's coming? So in other words, sometimes there's a nest in the tree, and that's why they come after you. But so what do we do when they come after us, regardless, because we don't know why they're coming after us?
Exactly. And at that point, I really encourage people, this is really hard for most of us, just to don't worry about the why. If you have any size bird, I don't care, any size bird, hummingbird and up, and they're dive bombing you and swishing around you and trying to get your attention, then something big is up, that they feel that you, the carnivore, which is, I don't care if you're a vegan, that's our classification, needs to step back and step away. They've either got babies on a nest, got eggs going, and sadly, Dr. JACALYN, I have seen this happen. People get really interested. They want to see the eggs. They want to do this. Oh, I'll just touch them, see if they're warm. Nope. Your scent is now on their eggs. And 90%, I'm being pretty liberal there, it's usually 100%, those birds will get up and leave those eggs to die. So their babies will die depending on how we know how to act. Walk carefully, walk slowly, but walk away. Don't go, oh, I got to see pictures of the babies in the nest. Do that. If you have somebody, any kind of bird, that is nesting in your trees year after year after year after year, or on your house eaves or something, guess what? You have a whole year to put a camera up there. And they come really small now. They don't have to be big. And you could be on your computer in your home and say, oh, look, Kellyanne just had those eggs and all the egg number 3 opened up. And I don't know you, I would love that because I'd be a part of it, but the bird doesn't know it. And that's where we have to stay, in the periphery, really far out, so that we don't create a situation where they lose their life. I can't tell you how many times you read them all the time. I do, especially because of all the things I keep up on. Mountain lions in Africa or in California, or pumas or whatever, big cat, and horses and gophers and birds. There's no animal species that is immune to this. When they feel and act like that you are a food source, we the humans are the food source, and they break into your house and or your yard and sit there, and you end up having to call somebody to come pick them up, have you thought about what happens to their life? They either put them down or they put them in a cage for the rest of their existence. And nobody should be doomed to jail because they don't speak English, or they don't sit at a table, or add anything you'd like. It's the same with humanity. If you are dealing with, let's say, a neighbor that comes from a totally different country, different accent, different food, blah, blah, blah. Great. Learn about it. Learn about them. Expand your knowledge. Have great conversations about the differences. And I have lived this. I have done this. These are why I recommend some things really, really emphatically, because I've seen it. And I loved being around a couple of different cultures where we used to say, hey, what's up? I haven't heard that term in a long time. But Dr. Jacalyn, can you imagine if I was talking to somebody who originated in a different country, what they thought that meant? Any guesses?
Well, I just know from the Power of Etiquette and Manners show that we have here, in various cultures, different greetings mean different things, and some of them can be very offensive.
Yeah, well, what's up? I actually was talking to somebody from the Middle East, and you know what he did?
Well, that makes sense.
They took it literally. And yeah. I was like, ooh, okay, I think I got to back up and use a different word.
Yeah.
But that's the idea, is there's no harm. There's no foul. It's hilarious. I still laughing about it. And this is 35 years later after when he did that. And it's like, what's up? And you're like, what? And then one of the guys said to me, he's like, I'm dying to ask somebody, can I ask you about an English word? And I said, sure. He said, what is the obsession with babies? You know, hey, babe, how you doing, babe?
Right.
And I looked at him and I just started laughing. I said, I'm not laughing at you. It's the English language. I absolutely own it. I said, it's an endearment. And he's like, a what? And he said, there's deer. Yeah, his language understanding wasn't quite as high as he thought it was. But right. That's what English speakers do. We take, little words and we make them slangs, or we make them indoor jokes or outdoor jokes. If you don't know that family, you don't know this, you're not going to get it, because then you're going to go, what's up? And everybody's going to do this.
Well, what's up is that it's the end of our show. That's what's up right now.
Perfect.
Thank you, Pet Psychic Amina. Thank you for everybody who's out there watching and listening. We really appreciate you. We'll be back next Friday. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Best way, and to see what I'm up to and some of my credentials, Bridging Worlds at, let's see, .us. I haven't written myself in a while. So BRIDGING US. And all of that's there. You can join my Facebook page and all kinds of fun things. Just trying to give out lots of great content and have you smile and hug your pets, even if they're just fosters. If that's where you're at, that's great. If you can go to the shelters and pet some pets, that really helps them get adopted. There's so many places you can help out. Thanks for coming.
All right. Thank you, Pet Psychic Amina. And thank you, everybody in the audience. Please go over to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV and Radio, where we just crossed 800,000 views. I think it was a couple weeks ago at this point. We're on our way to 1 million for this year. We already have 1 million overall, but that's another story. So thanks, everyone. We'll look forward to seeing you again on Monday. And please come back and see us for our show here next Friday. Bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye, everyone.